Hey cats and kittens, it's Namindo bringing you a show we're calling Positively Engaged. We're about to bring you a video on a game called Skytear. This game to this point has been quite fascinating and entertaining, and I can't say in the few that I've played that any have been like the one before it, including, on my own tabletop and online with players in casual tournaments on Skytear's website. Maybe you'll pick this up, or at least find time to play it somewhere online or on the tabletop sometime soon. Maybe you'll get a chance to play that game with me personally if you have that joy in your life. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to Giacomo from Skytear for entertaining me and my messages and allowing me to bring it to you. Let's take a look at what we got here. What up? Take a run at a game called Skytear. Little lane fight and MOBA simulation type action. So far, I'd say I'm pretty reeled in, pretty hooked, so, community online looks like it's growing and going places. So, what the hell? So the first thing we did for setup here is put what's called the control in the middle, and that will move around as people take over lanes. At the start, each team put 3 minions in hexes around the control. So there's 3 on this side for the blue team, 3 on this side for red team. Then back here behind your teams we have our towers, which are defenses that we want to secure come hell or high water. And our heroes, champions, whatever you want to call them, are here in front of our nexus or towers, our defenses. So the first thing we're going to do before we decide who goes first in one of these games, you draft cards for characters based on the 2 colors you see at the top. So this gentleman here, Hogasai by name, he's got the ability to draft green and red cards, so when he picks cards from both of those colors. You'll see this team only playing red and green cards because that was the whole theme and intent here. On the other side we have red and yellow characters, and then red and green and a red-blue character, or green-blue character, so they have the right to play cards essentially from all of the colors available to them. A little shuffle time. You'll see that each team in this particular instance has somebody on the bench. In this particular game mode, Ashen Pass, 3 start and 1 remains to spawn in for the team after they have their first loss of character. In determining first turn, ordinarily, like if you play the online version of this, you'll probably end up flipping a coin or something, but we prefer to roll dice around in this house, so we'll roll for first turn. We got an 11 there, and a 3, of course. So blue team will be getting the first turn. This card here, it's called Skytear Flux. It basically gives someone the right to play a card for cheaper than they would normally play it. That goes to the person who wins first turn. Don't take anything you see in this video as some kind of strategic how-to. We are newbie as fuck. Played this online. Some of that noobness came to light in a real big way in that organized setting. Hard times in the neighborhood. Let's say the debut online did not go well. Props still given by the opponent, who is incredibly gracious. Blue team won the right to go first. If I may have have a second here. There are 3 cards you see going along the left here that are alternate conditions to win the game through, such as the one that was the first one currently on the table is Tactician, and it says win the lead of a control 6 times. So the control out here in the lane counts for that, and then these things on the side with the different colored terrain and the different colored borders are what's called domes, and they are, in this instance, united. Even though they seem separated from side to side, they are considered unified. A control token is used for them as well as for the main lane in this instance. So another is to defeat or kill 3 enemy heroes. And then our last one for this game is to win the lead of the control in the dome, specifically 3 times. So blue team won, so they also get to decide who is essentially in charge of the dome on this map, and since they won, she had chosen a guy named Lord of the Ancestors, so you'll see him come in and do some craziness after team turns are completed. So we're gonna get this going, and blue team's got the first hero to move. In Skytear, character turns go back and forth between teams until all characters that are active have been used. She's using a regular move action, which allows you to move up to 3 hexes. Alright, and now she's doing what is called a skirmish. If she was in range of an enemy, she would be able to potentially target them and move towards them 1 hex at least once or twice, and then would flip a card looking to damage them. You'll see at the top there, on those numbered rows, is all of the little chips with different character faces on, and the rows on the top and bottom there are the health bars, essentially. So you'll, as the fights go on, you'll watch those tokens move until they move to 1 and move away from having their health taken, and that'll be the end of them for this game. So she used all 3 options of what is known as a skirmish action there for her second of 3 actions for that character this turn. She moved 1 hex, moved another hex, and then the 3rd step was not available because there was no target. I'm pretty sure the 3rd action that was taken there was what is called a lead, where you play a card from your take a card from your hand or from the top of your deck and place it face down next to the character that's playing it, and its mana cost, the symbols on the top left, will then contribute to the amount of points of control for the location where she's at, which in this instance is the dome instead of the lane. So that was 3 hexes moved on her first of 3 actions that turn. A hex, another hex, and no damage action from a skirmish action, which then the 3rd action was to take a card from hand and lead the control of the dome there. The concept for playing cards is it is turn 1, so any 1-cost cards that have a single mana symbol on the top left would be what would be able to be played on turn 1. The mana rule works that each character has individually the same amount of mana as the turn counter indicates, so it's not a player's mana but a individual character. Alright, so it is now red team's turn, or my turn. We'll intro our characters in a second here. So I'm going to start with a move action for his first of 3 on Hogasai, our tank here. the symbol in that hex that he moved into, like the one I'm pointing to here, indicates that it is a cover hex where he is only able to be seen by someone who is adjacent to him. So that's one of his 3 actions. This chip here that I'm putting down on him with the AP number and the number on it indicates that he has 2 action points, or 2 more actions he can take yet this turn. And he's going to do what is called worship and place a mark on the character in the dome there. So I will place that on that character's card, and then there is a power on his card that he gets to activate from using that skill, and he's going to do what's called purifying fire. So he will flip a card, and the number there is 1, so his card says he will lose 1 plus that 1 in health points in order to deal that amount of damage to the person he marked. So the character in the dome, Mayuki, will take 2 points from her health there. That gets discarded. And then he's got 1 action that he could take yet. I don't have a fucking hand, do I? Genius Instructor doesn't draw cards. Noob much, yeah? Welcome to my video. Well, luckily it wouldn't have affected the flip. So, with this being turn 1, 1 mana being the only available cost to be paid, doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole lot of card playing. At first turn, each player draws 6 cards in this game. I suppose we'll follow the crowd's advice and have him lead. He'll choose the option to take his lead from the deck, so he'll turn it sideways to indicate that, and then turn or tap his own card to indicate that he has nothing left for this turn. On further note on that question of drawing cards at the beginning of the game there, the mulligan concept comes into play where you can throw away cards and replace them from the top of the deck to start. Little something, because we do things real ass backwards here, because that's, I guess, just the way that I live. So, you saw moves by both characters. The actions available to them, again, are to move, and move up to 3 hexes. To perform what's called a skirmish, where if they can see an enemy, they will name a target, and then it allows them to move 1 hex once or twice, and flip a card to attempt to damage an enemy that they are able to target. Heroes, no minions. So that's the skirmish action again. Move 1 hex once or twice, and then flip a card for damage if possible. The attack action is pretty much what it sounds like. You'll have a number on the hero's card to the left next to the symbol that indicates whether they have range or melee attacks, and then they will have either a single or a double plus sign, like a card with a plus sign next to that number, and that will indicate how many times they will flip a card from the top of the deck to see which bonus, numbered bonus in the corner they want to add to their attack value for that attack. So, for example, On the left here is my main damage dealer for this particular team, Sakoshi, and he has a bow and arrow on his card indicating that he has range. So range for targeting gives 3 hexes worth of targeting range, and as long as the person that you are trying to target is in your line of sight, you're within 3 hexes, you're good to go there. He has 3 for his attack, and he has two cards on his card to indicate that he flips 2 when he attacks from the top of the deck, and then chooses the greater of the 2 for his attack bonus. Some things to note for something like that is that these boundary lines on the domes and the edge of the lane here are blocking element for lines of sight. So even though, well, with this guy sitting here in cover, he is not able to see into this dome, even though he sits adjacent to the border. They're very, very clear that that blocks line of sight. But those are the basics of what you need to attack and how attack works. That is the 3rd of 5 types of actions that are available to a hero on their turn. The 4th is also one that you saw there, that is called a lead, where you'll either take a card from your hand and place it on your on the character that's using it, and the mana cost in the top left there will be what is used when it flips at the end of turn to determine how much it contributes to the added value for the control of the lane or the dome that it's in. And then the 5th variety of actions that is available to heroes on their turn is called Worship. It is different from one colored faction to the next. The green faction of heroes places what are called pillars. They use these little colored chips and place them in a hex that they can see. Well, that is within 3 hexes of them. Some rules recently have allowed them to place them within 3, whether they can see it or not. So that would be legal for this guy there. But then these heroes have effects on their cards that are indicated by the pillar symbol, and they will get bonuses or effects depending on who they are and how close they are in terms of their line of sight to a pillar. And then for the red heroes in this game, they do what is called marking with their worship, where they will place a red, or for my team a white and red mark on a character's card, and then that will also generate a certain effect. It's back to blue. I'll have some shit for good measure. So we've got the first action from Kotlik is a move of 3 hexes. He'll take his second action to kill a minion, although I'm not real sure why he's coming for his own minion. The noobhood has been entered previously into the lexicon of this video. Kotlik takes an untargeted skirmish and moves a hex and another hex into the cover hex in the dome.
And you can only play 1 lead anyway, right?
That's correct. Only 1 lead will matter for control of a dome or a lane. So looks like the domes are pretty heavily controlled.
Oh, pillar. Oh, worship.
You led, didn't you? Oh no, you didn't lead.
No.
Correct. Go on. So a pillar is laying as a worship from Kotlik, and that is played within 3 hexes of him. And then, because of the worship provision, the pillar provision on his card, he now has a bonus armor of +1. And back to red team. Red team will activate Zakao. I'm just going to call him Zach because it's easy and I like it. He's going to move 3 directly into that dome. And that chip there says 2 AP, indicating he has 2 action points or 2 actions left on this activation. And he's going to target. Ooh, he can target him because look who's in a cover hex. Well played, Kotlik. So we will take what we call an untargeted skirmish and just move 1 and 1 again. 2 of the 3 steps. And because we couldn't declare a target at the beginning, we can't flip any damage on Kotlik there, even though we're standing adjacent to him. So the only right thing to do there is to be bold and to lead from the top of the deck. Yep. So we'll do like we did with Hogasai there, and I do apologize I didn't flip my chip there, but we used action 1 to move 3, action 2 to take the 2 1 hex moves of a skirmish, and action 3 to lead from the deck, and he's exhausted. So that will be the end of his activation, or his turn. Oh, sweet Jesus. Let me get that fucking light out of there.
1, 2, 3. He's gonna move here. He's gonna play because
Yes, range.
he has range, and I know I'm not aiming at homicide, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play. So I wanna play that so I can play combustion. I'm gonna target this minion, which is defeat target minion, and then deal 1 piercing damage to the enemy hero adjacent to it.
Yep.
So I will flip. So 2 piercing damage to Hogasai. So
Straight through his 2 armor with piercing damage off of the combustion play. He's within 3 hexes, so if Kichi chooses to worship and mark Hogasai, he may do so. And you'll see the red marks on marked characters on the red team and the white marks on the characters of the blue team to indicate the difference between one and the other. You'll notice that any of the colored tokens over here have 2 sides, one with the white and the other color, and then the other one reversed. It allows mixed teams to distinguish between one another whilst doing similar things. And Kichi takes a lead from his hand and is exhausted for the turn. So the last character of this turn will be Sakoshi. Sakoshi will take a move 3 up into the middle of the lane for his first action. Sakoshi's card has an ability that says Eagle Eye. He has line of sight toward any marked enemy within 3, so as you can see, even though Miyuki is sitting in the cover in the dome on the other side of that boundary, he has a provision to allow him to see her anyway. Sakoshi will play Crippling Precision prior to his attack, and he will get... It costs him 1 mana to play, and he will get +1 attack, and then anytime he damages an enemy this turn, they will get he will apply slow to them, which the condition of slow will reduce a character's movement by 2. Play that down here to show how much mana he spent this turn. Will attack for... He has 3 damage indicated on his card, plus 1 from the crippling precision, and we'll flip 2 cards for the damage bonus. So 4 plus... We'll take the 2 as the higher of the 2 cards, so he'll get 4 plus 2 being 6 damage on Miyuki. Correct. Miyuki has 1 armor and will reduce that damage by 1 to 5. And might as well go ahead and take advantage of the line of sight provision. Well, I guess he could, but he could also contribute to lane, so we'll have him do some more team-oriented stuff here and lay a mark down on Kichi. Oh, Kichi's out of line of sight. We'll just take a skirmish then, because Kichi's a clever guy hiding in the bushes over there. Target had to be someone he could see, so it was Miyuki. Flipping a card for damage. And that's a 3. Good times on the damage, sad times flipping somebody's ultimate there, as you see the picture in the top and the middle there indicating that it belongs specifically to one character, this time being Zack. Sad face, happy face, sad face, mixed emotions. So after the 1 armor, Miyuki took 2 off of the skirmish, and Sakoshi was able to move 1 twice to get up there and be able to see Kichi for the purpose of all his local, all his nearby friendlies. And that was 1 action taken to move 3 hexes, attack with a special line of sight provision from outside the dome into Miyuki there on the other side of the boundary, and then 1 hex moved twice and 3 more damage flipped on a skirmish. And that is his 3 action points, and he is exhausted, ending the first turn of this game. So then we move to what is called the minion phase, where we count up control numbers to find out who won the lane and who won the dome for the turn. We will add up the number of minions that each player has and then heroes in lane, and from there we will check the lead cards and see whose overall control number is higher. So for blue team in mid lane, we've got 3 minions and a hero in Kichi, which they are all within 3 squares or 3 hexes, meaning that they contribute with their line of sight 1 apiece. So you 4 plus a lead card of 3. You see the 3 mana symbols there on the left indicating how much that contributes. So that's a total of 4 plus 3, meaning being 7 for blue team in mid lane. Keep that on them, please, until we're done here, so we know. Then we've got 2 heroes and 2 minions for red team, equaling out to 4, and we've got Hagasai's lead card of 1, just 1 mana symbol there. So we've got 5 for red team, meaning that the blue team has won the lane by 2. So what they will do is, the first thing they will do 2 damage, and minions having 1 health and no armor will each take 1 and be eliminated there. Then this control token will move equal to the amount that the lane was won by. So it'll go 1, 2, closer to the tower or the nexus. Now that it's in range of the nexus, any damage in excess that can't be taken by minions at the end of this turn will be done to those towers or that nexus there, in an effort to try to end this game quickly. So the winning player of the lane will spawn 2 more minions next to the control, and then the losing player will do the same If the control were to move far enough from those other minions that they were not within the 3 hexes to see it, they would move adjacent or as close as they could to it after spawning the new minions. So that was the end of the middle lane phase, and we will count the domes now. So it's an uphill battle for Zach. He's the only red team character in dome, and there's Mayuki on the left. It's Kotlik on the right, so it's already 2-1. Flip those leads. And another 3 for blue and a 1 for red. Not working out so great in the lane control. Turn 1. So I guess that means with a 5, the obvious winner of the domes, for the outsiders control, is blue team. They will take advantage of the provisions of the Lord of the Ancestors for the last part of this turn. So the Lord of the Ancestors must be placed next to a friendly minion anywhere on the battlefield. He's placed in the cover there next to Hokusai and friendly blue minion.
What's that ability called?
So he takes 3 actions like he was a normal hero. His first action is called Advance and Conquer. He gets to move the control hex 1. Another ability he has that he's allowed to use is called Invoke the Ancestors, and he will spawn a friendly minion with the same rules that were used to spawn them at the end of turn there. And then the Lord of the Ancestors will attack Hokusai for a 3rd action. He has 2 damage and flips 1 card for a bonus, making 3 with a +1, so Hokusai's 2 armor will make that all of 1 damage. You might say Hokusai is a nasty tank. And that will be the entire cleanup for that turn. Blue team is definitely ahead in any aspect that you could think. They have minion presence in mid lane 6-2. They have hero presence in the domes 2-1, and for the most part their characters are relatively healthy. You'll see up top there the most of the health tokens are sitting at their original location, meaning they didn't take any damage. Well, Mayuki took a bit of a beating, but she got a lot out of it. So let's not cry tears on her behalf now, and she might escape. Yes. Another point to be made about rules and function here: when you win control of when you win the control of the token in lane or in the dome, you draw a card. So blue team draws 1 for each of those instances with the lane and the dome there. And then at the end of a turn, you will also draw 2. Each player will draw 2 and then discard 7 or less. Now we move the token to the 2nd spot to indicate it's turn 2, and everyone has 2 mana available to them to play cards now. We untap or ready our heroes and prepare for the next turn. Everything that was on the table there besides champion cards and should be cleaned up. Because both of those characters were marked after they were exhausted, they keep the condition until the next time they exhaust. You don't have to move the full 3 on it, you can move up to 3 hexes. So. Well, it's unique, yet still gets you where you need to go. Playing a lifesteal. Alright, Mayuki took a move as action 1 and is playing lifesteal in between for 2 mana. It is a red card that allows them to heal the damage they deal for the turn. Miyuki attacks Sakoshi for 4, heals the same. And now they sit parallel. Miyuki is back in lane. Just out of reach of the control token. Miyuki's going to end this turn with a third action being a skirmish for 1. And then moves 1 and 1 again, being the 3 possible steps of a skirmish. That will finish her activation, remove her mark since she exhausted. Nope. Exhausting removes the condition. Start with Zach. He will worship and place a pillar. And he gets the worship skill, collapse, deal 1 plus a foot damage to an enemy minion adjacent to the... Ooh, no, he doesn't because he'd have to remove a pillar. The difference between red and green. Red Kuromo or marking skills allow you to use the worship skill instantly, but pillar placement by the green faction or the Talot gives us an active skill, and then when removed gives a different instant skill. So apologies from the noob, but nothing but a pillar there. First action. Second action that he's got available, he's going to skirmish on Kotlik there next to him for 2. The +2 in the top right there. So Kotlik has 1 armor being on the inside of the dome away from his pillar. And he takes 1 out of the 2. Skirmish where we'll use the 1 and 1 again to get out of there, away from Kotlik. And that was 2 of the 3 actions. Something to know, you cannot repeat an action during a turn, like you can't attack twice, you can't move twice, so on and so forth. Frenzy will let you swing twice on attack, but never attack twice, never the same action twice. Hogasai is also in line of sight, but has not marked her since last turn, so she will keep her armor. And we'll go for a regular attack from Zach. 3 plus a flip on Miyuki. 4 with the +1, so she'll take 3 of it, thanks to her armor. And there's a minion in her way, so she won't get pushed back by Zach's massive blow. But that will exhaust him after his third action. Now, keep in mind there, he didn't play any cards during that turn, so his 2 mana still exists if there's some kind of reaction that he needs to play. Hex moved on the skirmish by Kichi, getting out of the cover and away from Sakoshi. Flipping the card on the damage option there for 1 on Sakoshi, who has no armor. And there's the other 1 hex moved by Kichi, the being the 3 steps of the skirmish. 1 hex, 1 flipped card for damage, and another hex in any order. But in this instance, 1 flip 1. And he moves completely from one side of the lane to the other side in the dome. And places a lead from hand. You gotta figure a lead from hand is gonna indicate a pretty good mana option to boost that lane. Hard to figure you would lead with something from your hand that wasn't golden. That, I believe, exhausts Sketchy. Looks like blue is all about lane control and lane presence this time. It's not always great to be one or the other, but when you dominate lane the way that first turn went, you gotta figure you keep going with what works. Back to red team here. Sakoshi activate before Hagasai. He's gonna go ahead and mark Miyuki for that first action of 3. Being that she was tapped before, or exhausted, apologies, the mark will remain with her until she exhausts next turn. So, on the mark, he gets to use the worship skill and do 1 plus a flip to a minion adjacent to that marked hero. So he's going to go ahead and pop this one right here. The 1 will kill it, but unless it gets some sort of protection. So the flip will be a 1 as well, so he'll take, that minion's taking 2 damage. And you see it leaving the battlefield, so there's no reaction saving it. And target Miyuki on a skirmish from Sakoshi and flip 1. So now that she's marked and in Hagasai's line of sight, his radiance says that she has -1 armor, so she will take that 1 damage instead of absorbing it with her 1 armory she would have had. And we will get the 1 and 1 individual hex movements to finish the 3 steps on the skirmish. And that leaves him with 1 action left. Might as well have a good fight out there. We'll go ahead and have Sakoshi attack. Before he does, he's going to use combustion and defeat target minion, being this one, and deal 1 plus a flipped card in piercing damage to Miyuki, who is adjacent to it. That's how combustion works. So we've got a +2 there, making that a 3 damage piercing to Miyuki. So she'll go from 7 to 4. You have to have a really bad flip here for Sakoshi not to be able to attack and finish her off. So 3 plus 2 flips. There's 1. Also 1, but that 4 is enough to take her 4 with no armor available and put her to rest. Miyuki has left the building. She was exhausted, which means that Nelliklin, her bench riding replacement, will come in 2 turns later instead of the very next turn. If she had been killed while ready and not exhausted, the replacement would come the very next turn. And because Sakoshi was able to get that kill prior to the exhaustion, we'll draw 2 cards for the kill for red team. And that exhausts Sakoshi and goes back to blue. Oh. This video brought to you with participation by Choppy Johnson. Respect the Johnson. Kotlik has made a move of 3 for his first action for blue team and is now playing the green card Lord of the Many, which gives him +1 skirmish damage for each minion that is in his line of sight, which right now looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's got 4 that he can see that are within 3 in line of sight, giving him 4 plus a flip on a skirmish, which is really juicy compared to just a straight flip. Giggity. So So that's a 1 flip, but still that's 5 damage being done to Zakal, who has 1 armor. So Zach's gonna take 4 after that armor. He's reduced to 14 now. That's a huge swing on a skirmish for anybody. And then he finishes the skirmish by going 1 hex twice. I believe that exhausts Kotlik for the turn. He's played a lead card from hand after getting very close to the control token to try to have some kind of say in the matter for what happens in mid lane. When the control token is just out of range of that wave of 3 minions back there, so this might get a little interesting at the end of this turn unless something special happens. It'll be interesting how the control works there. The other part of that is that all of the current minions that exist besides that wave of 3 down lane is 1 next to that control. So with the way that control is positioned, if red team wins control of this lane, they will take out the 1 minion adjacent to the control token, but that is not within range to damage anything else, so it would simply move down lane and become closer to the wave of minions that are sitting there to make it push back the other way. It kind of looks like rebellion in planning. Start out by playing a card since he can and has the mana available. He's going to go ahead and play Combustion, which we've reviewed before, but costs 2 mana, deal 1 defeat target minion, and then deal 1 plus a flip and piercing damage to the hero adjacent. So within 3, this minion will be removed. And then Kotlik will take 1 and a flip and piercing. 3. Line of sight. It's just targeted. Combustion. Combustion allows the defeat of a minion and the damage, piercing damage to a hero adjacent to it. So despite him being in a covered hex, he was not the target of the ability, but part of the ability's effect after targeting. So that was the only card he's playing this turn. He'll move 3 for his first action. He will mark Kotlik, and then will you get his Purifying Fire skill in the process, allowing him to choose to lose 1 plus a flip in HP to deal the same amount of piercing damage to the marked hero, being Kotlik. So 1 plus 2, making 3. So 3 and piercing goes to Kotlik, and 3 health lost by Hogasai. So that would have been a move of worship. Before Hogasai attacks, Zakal can play a reaction card since he played no mana this turn. He will play Quick Shot, defeat a target adjacent minion. I think he will also play Crippling Precision, which is a reaction, and target hero, being Hogasai, will get +1 attack, and when he does damage with an attack or skirmish, he will apply slow. Hogasai has moved 3, played Combustion, and marked Kotlik to use Purifying Fire off the mark, and will use his third action as an attack with the +1 from Crippling Precision, and it will be 3 plus 3, so he will do 6 to Kotlik, who has -1 armor from being marked. So the Crippling Precision says target hero gets +1 attack. So Zakal, with no cards being played on his turn, was able to use his remaining mana to play actions and target Hogasai with the Crippling Precision, since the first part of it says target hero, and then the rest of the language of that applies to who's targeted. So Zakal had played no mana on that turn and then played reaction cards, which could be played at any time. Well, that's the end of activation for the turn, and it will move to the minion phase where we count lane control. Mid lane is 5 red and 1 blue at the moment.
We will count the lead off of that card for 3, so that'll make it 5-4. No minions to be damaged, but the control will move 1. The minions down lane are now in sight again. Both teams will spawn minions as close as they can to the control. And then the dome is quite clearly won by Kitschy, who's the only one available in dome there. So another outsider won by the blue team, and Lord of the Ancestors gets placed again wherever they choose, next to a minion of their own. So dead center in the middle of the lane, clogging up traffic because he can. And they have 3 actions to take with the Lord of the Ancestors. So the first thing he's going to do is go straight with the aggression and attack Sakoshi, looking for 2 and a flip. 2 plus 2 being 4. Sakoshi takes it straight because he has no armor. He's built like that. So he's down to 5 health. And yes, if you kill something with an outsider, you still draw cards for it. He uses his second action to invoke the Ancestors and spawn a friendly minion. And then he has 1 action left to choose from 2 other special skills or a skirmish or move, which the move wouldn't really make much sense for him considering what he's doing there. He's a real good traffic clogger right there in the middle there, making sure that this push gets reinforced. Alright, so Lord of the Ancestors uses Overwhelm and repositions the friendly minion from one spot to another adjacent to a friendly minion. And that is all that he has for this activation, but he really reestablished the lane presence there in a short matter of time. And that ends turn 2. The tokens move to turn 3. 3 mana this turn. We will ready all the heroes on the sidelines. And you'll notice Nalaclin with the many arms sitting on the number 4 there. That's because he will not join this game until the following turn based on when the person he replaces was killed. The character that died, Mayuki, was exhausted on her turn when she was killed, and thus the replacement waits a full turn before coming into the game. You might not have seen either player draw any cards at the end of the last turn there, and you'd be right to think that. So before we continue with turn 3, we will get our end of turn draws and discard down to 7. You're right, I don't believe I drew for my lane control either, so that would be an extra one. See? We're learning together. Welcome. Join us. Afraid my 8-card hand after that requires a discard. Kitschy is going to use all 3 of his mana to play Unstoppable, which gives him Frenzy and Fast. The Fast condition adds 2 to his movement for a regular move action this turn, and the Frenzy gives him the right to swing twice on an attack. If you've ever played Clicks, you'd think of Frenzy as Flurry. Where, the click section of Flurry gives a person 2 swings on a single attack. Obviously, no manipulation of the damage there. It's just the right to swing twice.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Kitschy with his ranged attack is able to see and target Sakoshi at 3 hexes there, down lane. So he will be using both swings of his Frenzy on his attack action from cover on Sakoshi. So here we go, this might lead to a kill. 4 on Sakoshi, and that takes him from 5 to 1. And prior to the second swing and reaction, Sakoshi has to do something about that and is going to play Impervious. For 1 mana is a green card that gives him +2 armor, hoping maybe to save his life. And that reaction will resolve and Kitschy will swing again. So that is another 4 with a +1 on the flip there, and that is going to definitely take away all of Sakoshi's options there. So Sakoshi is killed while ready, and that means his replacement Akla from the red team, the green faction hero Akla, will be coming in on turn 4, as well as blue team's Nelaclin. The death of Sakoshi will also lead to the cards that he had on him being discarded. Inquiring about targeting Zakal in lane for a skirmish attack, but because of where Kitschy sits and where Zakal sits currently, he is out of a line of sight to be targeted. He is 4 hexes away. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. He is out of line of sight at the beginning of the action. So Kitschy has 1 action left. So Kitschy will use the skirmish without a target to try to establish some control in Dome. And then that's his 3rd action, and he is exhausted for this turn. Alright, so back to red team, and you'll see we've got the Brawler Zakal in lane there, not far from Kotlik of the blue team, and Hogasai directly adjacent to Kotlik there. So we'll activate Hogasai, and he will play Granite Skin and get a +1 armor. Overall armor value will be added to his skirmish damage for a turn. So that armor value with the +1 for Hogasai will be 3. And then while we're at it, before that skirmish is declared, we're going to also use another 1-cost card for Hogasai called Shield Slam. And he's going to apply slow to target adjacent enemy, being Kotlik, and deal piercing damage to him equal to his armor value. So that'll be 3 damage through Kotlik's armor. Takes him from 5 health to 2. Hogasai will skirmish him with a 3 and a flip. So we get 2 on the bonus there for the flip on the damage, and that means that Hogasai has done 5 damage with his bonus from the cards he played, and that will take Kotlik out of the equation. That leaves Hogasai with 1 action left. And considering the rules about movement and what you can and cannot do, the rules of movement state that you can move through minions as long as you don't end up on them. So to use a skirmish would not allow you to move into their hex because you move in 3 steps, 1 hex at a time, either once or twice, on the movement of a skirmish. So the movement would not get you through anything, only to a minion or whatever hex you are seeking. So with a move action, if you have full movement or improved movement, you're moving 3, potentially 5 in a turn, and that means that if Hogasai would want to move through these minions that he's adjacent to, he would just need to move 3 to an empty hex. So I guess the intent is clear, and Hogasai is going to declare his last action as a move, and move 3 hexes from where he sat next to control over the minions into the cover on the other side. And that will exhaust him, and now that he's exhausted, he will be rid of the mark that was on him. repossess that mark from Kotlik as well. And then Kitschy has gone and Kotlik has left the building, so that will leave Zakal. We're going to have Zakal attack the minion he stands next to. We'll flip because you're supposed to flip on all attack actions, so he has a 1 flip. You can clearly see that he has more than 1 damage to kill the minion. So now he has 2 actions left. We'll take a move. And the final action for him will be a skirmish into the dome to ensure that, since Kitschy had not played a lead card, that the dome ends up even on his last action and he doesn't have to put his team through another Lord of the Ancestors push. Even though there is 1 red hero in lane and no blue heroes, the minion presence for blue is quite strong and will probably still win the lane. So we've ended turn there. Everybody has exhausted that needs to exhaust. And we'll count minions to see who wins mid lane. So you see blue team has 1, 2, 3, 4 minions within 3 in line of sight of the control, giving them a presence of 4. And the red team has 1, 2, 3, 4 minions and Hogasai, giving them a lead of 1. So the damage dealt will be 1. Now we'll clear 1 minion up, and then the control hex will move down the lane in spite of the Lord of the Ancestors sitting in the next hex. He don't own that hex. And then each team will spawn 2 new minions as close as they can to the control. None of the lines of sight for minions changed on the control hex there, so none of them will get a free movement out of that. I will draw a card for red team for having taken control of lane. And then we will resolve dome, which we already discussed is tied, so there will be no draws for dome control. But we will end turn, clean up whatever cards are on the heroes on the table. And I believe Kitschy needs to clear his Fast and Frenzy, since he has exhausted and the turn has ended. It's time to draw 2 for the end of turn. You'll notice I've got none left and have to shuffle to refresh. And again, after you draw for turn, the number to have as the maximum hand is 7. Then at the start of turn 4, we will spawn in the heroes that were sitting in wait. Nelliclin has been chosen to start front and center by blue team, and Akla has started to the left of lane in adjacent to the nexus there, which is where respawning and spawning always happens. So Kitschy takes action 1 of 3 to mark Zakal in the dome there. We'll have 2 actions left. She has taken 1 action and is now going to play his ultimate. Curse of Years. And that card gives him the right to deal damage to a hero equal to half of their health. So, because of the fact that it says deal damage, it allows their armor to come into play. If it had said reduce health or take HP, it would ignore the armor. But Zakal only has 1 armor, so it's not really going to help him a whole lot, losing half of his health right now, which Zakal sits at 14 health right now. So Kitschy had used his first action as a worship, so he is marked. So if If possible, Kitchi heals for the damage he deals off of this, but since Kitchi has been undamaged, he'll just be happy to do 7 damage to Zakal, which will get reduced by 1 to 6. From 14 to 8 goes Zakal's health. And that is 3 of his available 4 mana for the turn, and he's got 2 actions left. Kitchi's going to take the +1 attack from Clear Mind and has no conditions to clear, but that will put Kitchi at a 4 attack before the flip. And the second action of this turn is going to be an attack by Kitchi on Zakal. Flips 1, gets 5 damage. The armor, again, will reduce that by 1, and he will take 4. And Zakal is at 4 health now. So it seems Kitchi's going to take his third action for blue team to attempt a skirmish, targeting Zakal, flipping a card for damage. 3, reduced by 1 to 2, so Zakal is now at a grand total of 2 health sitting in the dome there, not so safely. That would be turn besides the 1 hex moved once and once more by Kitchi on the end of that skirmish. And that will exhaust Kitchi for blue team. We will have Akla with his second action place a pillar with worship. And because of the rules of placement with pillars and with marking, he does not have to be able to see it as long as he's within his range of 3 hexes. So that is 3 hexes away from him. And is right adjacent there to Kitchi. Now the provision that Akla gets from the pillar is called Nowhere to Hide, and it gives him line of sight on all heroes within 3 hexes and adjacent to a pillar. So that just happens to cover both of those restrictions there. We will play Brutal Precision for 1. That gives +2 attack. We will play a second copy of Brutal Precision for the same cost. 2 of the 4 available. That will give him +4 attack. But that +4 attack on the 3 natural attack will give him a 7 +2 flips. Targeting Kitchi thanks to Nowhere to Hide and the pillar's help. So 7 and 2 flips. And it looks like the ultimate's going to win the flip and give a 3 bonus there. Choosing the higher, obviously. So that will make for an attack of 10 on Kitchi. Kitchi's health reduced to 4. That will tap Akla, and you'll notice we haven't put his health chip out. That'll put him at 15. He has yet to engage with anybody defensively, so we know he's at full health. And that will go back to blue team for Nelliclin, the 6-armed wonder. Nelliclin has placed a pillar through worship, and that allows him the right to use his Archaic Mastery, which says that he can play cards of any color, regardless of the fact that he is blue-green faction hero. The cover hex in the dome is occupied by Zakal, who's not adjacent, so he wouldn't be a target for a skirmish. Nelliclin is targeting Akla with the skirmish, but also has range to be noted and wouldn't have to move closer to him to attack him. It's likely that the adjacency there is to utilize the Shardstorm card, which is pretty great. So we're getting the flip for the damage there on Akla. That'll be 1. Now for 2 mana, Shardstorm, which deals 2 piercing to a target adjacent hero and each hero adjacent to them. 2 piercing damage. While it wouldn't a ricochet would totally kill Zakao where he stands, sitting at 2 health. So taking the best of the possible effects there and using the Shard Storm's main effect to kill Zakao with 2 piercing. And that should leave Nelliclin with 2 mana and 1 action remaining. Nelliclin takes the opportunity
Yes. Yep.
in Dome to play a lead card, hoping to go push over aggro there, satisfied with a real good kill there on turn 4, even in the odds again to 2-2. Some smart decision making, trying to play a balanced game there, looking for both sides of the equation there, pushing in, killing one can directly contribute to the other. Hagasai will use his worship action to mark Nelliclin, and in doing so activates Purifying Fire to lose 1 and a flip in HP and deal the same amount in piercing to Nelliclin, who's marked. The flip is +1, so he'll lose 2 and take give 2 damage to Nelliclin. So 2 damage done to Nelliclin and 2 health lost by Hagasai, taking him to 7 and Nelliclin to 12 health. So we'll have still full. Hagasai is going to play Supernova, his ultimate, for 3 of his 4 mana. And Supernova says deal 4 damage to all enemies within 2 hexes and deal piercing damage to marked enemies. So all enemies will include minions, since you didn't hear the word heroes there. So 4 damage to every enemy within 2 hexes of him. So that will take out everyone in that radius that you saw there. The minions, all with their 1 health, will die from more than 1 damage. The Lord of the Ancestors is considered an enemy as well, and because of his location, will take 4 damage as well. So he'll take 3 after his 1 armor. And Kichi will take 4, and that will kill him.
Alright, cats and kittens, so you see there this first run of Ashen Pass for Skytear on our show ends with an onslaught victory, with red team getting 3 kills of different enemy heroes there, cutting that short before a lane push or any of those crazy things could come across there. We'll be happy with the aggressive victory we got there, and nice 4 turns to make the game last a little bit, a little bit of substance, a little bit of something for everyone there. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it looks like a game you might consider in the future. We want to say thank you to Giacomo and Skytear's people with PvPgeeks.com that were kosher about us doing what we do here and bringing this game to you in a way that fits our style. Thank the one we're going to call Mamindo for bringing me around to this world and bringing some positivity to me throughout all of this process. Happy belated birthday, Clib. Give him some love. He deserves it. He's an incredible dude. Love you. If you know him or if you don't, catch my boy Jason Furious in action in May here. Always top of the line entertainment there. Never a dull moment when you go out and see these gentlemen. I hope that you'll come and check out the next episode when we do our different game runs and different runs of game modes for this as well. Thanks for stopping by.
You puss ass bitch ass puss.